Welcome, welcome. Grab this. It's gonna talk about Hawaii a bit. Okay, so I found this interesting. I was watching a video on the Mauna Loa eruption, looking around, and I started to look into this region over here, into landslides. I tried to find information on landslides, and it really was, especially on this, which makes sense. Even in what I'm saying, where Hawaii was a sphere, this makes sense, which is good. That there's like an explosion at some point here that separated this, where it folded over from here, where it was physically like this, like what I've been trying to do. I guess the rest of the video, I was watching the video my last video that I posted, and I was like, this is looking pretty plausible, this aspect here. Like, and then I was thinking, well, if this is like kind of a pole, and this is like, in some point, the pole, maybe here even, on like that close to one another on the sphere, and like the whole of the sphere contained all of this distance. I don't know. That seems a little too close. Actually, pardon me. I forget sometimes. This is actually something I feel I've established in my mind to be a pole, the North Pole, probably equivalent. Our North Pole, which is kind of a South Pole, but besides the point. Uh, and this is the opposing pole. So there's two like chunks that kind of have roundedness to them. Mind you, I'm drawing these repeatedly because they are on different sides of the sphere, because it's a sphere, like it wraps around. So to draw this side attached to here, but then to draw the opposing side attached, this looks like, yeah, like I did it wrong though. Like it needs to be more down here. I don't know if this makes sense. At the angle, the thing is at the angle, like envisioning it like wrapping around, maybe if it folds in. I was thinking about this. Like maybe if I turn this 30 degrees ish, it kind of like physically connected there while also connecting here. I don't know if that makes sense. On a smaller sphere, it's going to be more rounded, so the possibility of something of that seems more likely for a small unit like this. Also, this could just be generally moved out to give this a little more space. Because essentially, this was probably attached like generally here if it was like this, and maybe along here to maybe like there. Maybe even with I don't know, and then connecting from like there across here. So then, let's go back here. The main island of the big island of Hawaii, Maui, that island, and this island, and these islands are accounted for. These two, I still feel pretty good about the concept that they're caused by like a current that flowed out of the side of the big island when the sphere began to break apart, and the pool of molten lava within this segment of the sphere that was flowing around but like concentrated here continued to flow out and produce those two islands, the larger one first, and then it ran into and turned along the boundary here, I believe, and took this shape. And then this one didn't do that, but it still got like put up here on accreted onto this block of like this plate kind of. Okay, but I found this really fascinating. Like, it generally has a shape with like a circle at the middle, and then of like a figure eight, like over here, generally speaking, out this way. That's also here. Like currents of a magnetic field kind of thing that I believe continue through there. But also, it looks like around here is like circular for some reason. It's very curious. It looks like a magnetic field though, which makes, like, if we go to, I mean, even here, might as well, tornado outbreak warning earlier today. This is probably still going on actually, but just about. Yeah. But it's kind of got like an eye and then a surrounding region. And that's just a tendency for things to do. I'm trying to think if there's an actual example that's, because this is an example of the just tendency for the field to have one side that's more of like a lobe, and the other that has this like boundary within it that then has ripples outward. A lobe side, central region, and then a lobe side. To me, it's almost like this occurred like from the center of the sphere, which was only as big as the island, the big island of Hawaii. Like, it's not, this structure is not the same scale as this structure, but I believe it's the same system, just like at a distance, influencing from above, like through its surrounding like spherical layers that, like, the core is what Hawaii is, and it rests on the matrix surrounding the core of a larger structure that it basically is seamounts. And one of the major steps in the sequence of its fracturing is when these basically broke apart. Oh my god, TV. Oh, they just got like loud noises sometimes. Like, dude, who is doing this sound audio editing? Babe. Just fucking minutes. Oh. Okay, so there's a first volcano that occurred here and a second here that then had a seamount between them, plausibly. That maybe is this appropriate positioning? Like, could this also be up here? Like, is that in? This maybe. Something of that nature, like. Where it really opened up here and produced a new system, really. Maybe. Because that is where the next island will be, is said to be. And it's also where that circle is. That what in the is going on circle. So maybe. Maybe it was here. I guess this side. This side? Whew. I really wish I could make a 3D sphere of this. I should. I need to get it worked out though, like its positioning. I don't know if it would matter if it was on the inside or outside, but it would probably have to be on the, or probably reasonably be on the inside. It's almost like, this is what I'm thinking. I just had this thought, like because it would be the inside, and then essentially like the crust of this particle, like where we are basically of the Earth, but for this sphere is on the bottom of the ocean. Then between it, it's like holds the molten material in a like solidified wall boundary that keeps it stable to a degree. Um, I mean, it seems the biggest concern is landslides. I might be mistaken. Like, I almost feel like because it formed in a process like an rapid expanding Earth, that like the fuel isn't like gonna get progressively worse. It's gonna get progressively calmer. So that's how it seems in my mind. Although I may not be like aware and or accounting for things. Okay. Does this make sense, like from here to here? If this kind of like connected actually to here, which then connected over to here also, which maybe this like rolls in here too. So more like here, which then closes over here. That makes more sense actually, like there. With this closed. That would probably be a good way to do it, to just put like lobes that then just like have, I just put like close this gap. Get all pinkaroo. Generally speaking, mind you, like the difference in the C mount, like well, how do these, what happens with these C mounts? Like how can they be against each other? Is because it's a sphere, so it's like, it's not just below it is like a single like distance, but it's actually a sphere, so it has below it, and since it's the core of the sphere, below it it has a large region of growing like support structure. That is why it can be pieced together much closer to the actual coastline, I believe, than like would seem reasonable by just assuming that it was like once together, and when it was together it was a like on the plane that things tend to form. um so does this fit here? This pretty much rolls in back here, like it's right, yeah, it pretty much rolls in here. This attaching there. This is a little what's going on here. Could be that, have I fully connected everything? Like I've probably connected here to here, and then this side I have connected like maybe that length. So it looks like it's connected there, and then this is just closed. Does that make sense? Which then would put that system also generally over here. Over here, I guess. And also over here. Wait, I don't know. Wait, what was I thinking was... I feel like something would make sense here, but because it comes to a point... It's crazy that this is seeming plausible now. Oh my god, it just occurred to me. It just occurred to me. Nice, guys. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Before I go losing track and then just being like, oh, this dude didn't fucking have any thoughts. Okay, so here we got this, like, in my opinion, very like neutral. Even though it's called a volcano, it's very like neutral and just like a mass, like some system that's like solid and like a nucleus that's not, it's probably just cold, let's say, relative to the hot other half of this like situation going on. But I just realized this over here. If we go to Japan, Japan has this structure within like a opposing side where there's a volcano. I think that's it. I'm not sure if that's the right place actually. It looks like it. Yeah, that's it. Where pretty much there's a center like mass, and then there's a arc and a separate arc. Let's see. Is Japan volcanic? I mean, it must be, right? It's like extremely. Earthquakes, occasional, are felt. 111. Okay. Okay. Yes. So it's volcanic. Where? This is, like, generally speaking, the arc is volcanic as a whole. And then there's this mass here that's really, I presume, not, like, nearly as, even if it's volcanic, it's not as, like, volcanic as, I don't know anything about it. Just like inferring. Okay, so pardon me if I'm incorrect on this. It's probably less volcanic. But then over here, there's really this like one volcano with like an arc over here. Like, so there's this thing going on. Okay. Interestingly, it's going on here too, it seems. So like over here is like the really volcanic side where like there's a lot of magma, a lot of fluid flowing material that then produces a more like wide region of volcanism. I wonder if Hawaii or Japan has anything of this nature going on. That's like, I guess if we count that, I don't want to say it is the Mariana Trench, generally speaking, but it could be that I was thinking more like it would like for sure it'd be more reasonable that way. But let's just take a look at this. I mean, it goes to there and then it bends abruptly there. So maybe in some energetic way, it's similar to how this, essentially my interpretation is there's a current coming from basically underneath, I believe, Asia. That one I'm less certain about. And then like exactly where it's coming from may actually be coming from further south. But regardless, colliding with a current coming from underneath North America. And so they collide and they produce a sphere. And so, like, generally speaking, this is like from pole to pole. And on one side of the sphere, there's just like a dense mass. And on the other side, there's like a beam, like this capacity to shoot this like intense beam through this way, which then maybe even causes like degradation through this segment of it, so that when they like nova, they separate. Like this one, at first this comes off here. Let's see, does that make sense? If there's so essentially there's a mass here with a current pushing this way and a current pushing this way, producing a mass and a fluid region. And then that causes a current to wrap around the the sphere particle to flow around it, and it then physically goes into here from here, and I believe also making its way over here and into here, spiraling here and filling this pole, just spiraling at that pole. Because of pressures probably like holding the polygonal boundary here to make it a pole, because it's at the pole relative to where the currents are flowing. So just because of the currents are flowing the way they are, they're flowing from certain directions into this sphere that's forming. It then causes certain regions to be the poles depending on where the currents are flowing in, which then leads to just like restrictions in the flows out of, but like a capacity for a flow to go in, which just fills the poles. One of which is just naturally smaller physically than the other, and the other is just more defined, larger structure, both of which are similar but differing from one another. Although they're like directly adjacent if they're poles. I don't know. I did just kind of put this over here and be like, that fits, that must be it. I need to think about this, really, I guess. Because it does, they're right next to each other. They're kind of more reasonable in my head to be like across from one another. Here. Also, I don't know what's going on here. It's so complex without being able to map it. Let's go through some details, though, about this landslide. So there's two landslides here, I've come to realize. So let me update you guys on me realizing what I was mistaken on. I thought it was the main landslide was from here, from Malachi, but it was from here, from Kaneohe, from this island, Oahu. This way, but then also there's another secondary there is another secondary landslide this way, and the first one is like generally this region, and the second one generally adjacent pretty much and connecting the two, which really reinforces. And I was looking around and I keep finding about both of them happened about 1.5 million years radiometric dating, which means they occurred, generally speaking, approximately simultaneously, especially when radiometric dating is actually not accounting for the fact that the Earth expanded and underwent like planetary radioactive decay, which painted a picture of millions of years passing. But the reality was that the Earth supernova, basically. So it looked like a lot of decay happened. So like that was basically simultaneous. Even if it's like 1.4, 1.5 is pretty much simultaneous. So that like this island, this chunk of the sphere physically broke away from, and I guess energetically was still bonded to like the polygon, like even though the crust fractured, like the connection point here, it just pivoted around, maybe. I don't know. I feel like that was connected over here though. Although maybe not. I really think this was new. I'm operating with this map under the assumption, or not assumption, but hypothesis, whatever word you allows you to continue to listen to me without being offended by my word choice. Also, those word choices too. So whatever those word choices too. And these and the next ones, Okay. So that, but operating under the interpretation that perhaps this island, and this segment here are newly formed in the process. Although perhaps I am mistaken. So, I mean, of course, all of it like hinges again on the concept that this happened. Like that this happened. Like it wouldn't fit if it didn't happen. So it doesn't really matter, I guess. I'm kind of looking at this like it looks like that chunk. Oops. Pardon me. Okay. Also, that island here has coral reef on, like at a substantial elevation. Which is worth noting, because it's probably related to the process and not actually coral reef. Although maybe it's how coral reef is formed in some way, which is crazy. Okay, so this is what I found really interesting. And beyond that this landslide occurred generally simultaneously, here's what's really fascinating is there's very little evidence of a tsunami anywhere, even though models suggest that there should have been like 100-meter tall tsunami hitting the whole coast. But there's no evidence of it. And I find it kind of peculiar that the landslide here is pretty much where these arrows kind of like stretch marks. It's like my butthole. It's like my butthole. My butthole's Hawaii. Oh, that's good to know. See, here's like the typical butthole. Now here's my added Hawaii chain. Oh my god. Oh, the sea mounts too. Who knows how deep the roots go? Fuck, what's going on and over in there? I don't want. Anyway, pardon me. My parents were laughing. I was just riding the wave, I guess. But it does kind of look like maybe it like is like it's generally a depression region that like the energy fell into as the nova. I don't know why that aspect. I'm just adding that for no reason. But it does generally appear like they separated to me. At least to a point where it's feasible enough to just like continue to inspect that route. Okay, back to what was interesting about the tsunami thing. Like, there's basically no evidence from what I casually, like, in listening to people talk about it, came to understand the case to be. I don't know if there's actually like, oh, look at this evidence. Oh well, dude, you haven't seen blah 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 blah. Like, all right, dude. Okay, but let's see that. I haven't seen that yet. So until that happens, I'll still continue to at least talk this way. Like there isn't a substantial amount of evidence of a tsunami, even though it appears like there should have been. So my thought is that there wasn't an ocean for there to be a tsunami in. because the ocean was still flooding the earth and not yet receded into it. Because it brought to mind immediately when I heard that these like way too far into the ocean flows that were carved by water flow that like had to only flow here. It didn't flow here, it didn't flow here, it only flowed down the channel. Which doesn't make sense unless it's physically not there yet because the earth is expanding and the water is yet to fill the oceans, and so it still needs to like drain into the ocean, so it is. But when this landslide happens, even if it pushes water, it may only push it so far. Like, it may not have been able to actually produce a landslide at all, or a tidal wave at all, because it just didn't have the material to cause a tidal wave in. Although maybe maybe there's some sort of like weird air tidal wave type thing, since maybe if it didn't happen in water, it happened in at least something that could be pushed enough to show some semblance of evidence. I don't know of anything of that nature to even think about like that, but then there's, okay, that reminds me, let's go back to here. Nope, back to here. Here. No. Here. Okay, this is from Penn State University. I guess just a bathymetric topography type map. I don't know exactly what to call it, but these ones here are interestingly in the position where, so there's a slump, so I guess just like in a seamount, where if the current was wrapping around and flowing back into this side here, and then the like inlet cut off, and then suddenly like the pressure flowing this way started flowing the other way, but in all this process it closed off, so maybe it would like produce seamounts and undercurrents that were able to bubble up into new volcanoes fed from the same material that is actually like held within the the container that is the big island of Hawaii, and perhaps not underneath the ocean substantially, although it's possible that it is underneath the ocean because it's like one continuous magma. I don't know where we calculate the volume of the magma. Like a chakra. It's kind of what I'm thinking, like a magma chakra that comes up and is like a magma chakra to the earth. Where like Gurnar is like a earth chakra. Maybe. But those seamounts made me think of those currents, so maybe there's something of that nature where like the currents were flowing out or into the segments of the polygonal, of the spheres, like chunks, and through between the upper and lower layer in the middle, like where mantle is pretty much. And as it flowed, it's either like dripped out until it stopped, or it like flowed in, but then the inlet was severed, so there's just no more flow. So maybe it backwelled to a point at points, and so maybe there's things of that nature. This really looks like formed, but at the same time, if we look more closely here, this line does go like right up to there. And so I would strongly suggest that right here was physically here, and as this landslide happened, it flowed over here because it was still bonded enough. Like there was a bond, but it just gained distance and filled in new material to keep them connected, kind of like North America and South America have like a greater distance between them, but they're still held together by a physical bond and above the ocean in the case of North America and South America. But in this case, maybe a better example would be continents that have just the oceanic crust between them. And then, as that occurred, a downward nova occurred here and an upward one here, maybe. Where the upward one, it was like a solid mass, and the downward one was just like many, many constituents that then just all, maybe even initially started out very magmatic, very molten. I don't know if the landslide was highly lava or what. Like, that just quickly solidified because it was just like a huge polygonal segment of it that just slid away. I'm not sure. But this really does. Like, it looks like a triangle like here. Like, if this bent, maybe I can cut this. Let's do this one. This one's good for the seat mounts. Let's do this one. New. I know my videos are probably frequently pretty boring. It is what it is. I don't know what to do about that except for to be going back and like making videos for it all, but it's just like so right here, generally speaking, like there, question mark with the segments over beyond it, just kind of cut that out there. And then kind of right there, then turn it. Okay, I made it a little bit. There we go. And then this segment here. Coloring, select and mask, modify. Undo. Whatever. Let's just cut it out, I guess. Did I do it? Nope. Why did I not cut the selected segments? Oh, probably because I hit the wrong hotkey. Cut. Oh, no. Oh. Pardon me, am I in the capacity to even do the thing? Whatever. Okay. So that just kind of wasn't yet there, maybe? That probably was a chunk somewhere. Maybe like it's hard to say what underneath would have been there, like maybe the upper layer was newly formed by the process, but like everything else was like an ocean floor that just didn't have a continental shelf. But then it got continental shelf formed within it. So it's possible. Here's a chakra. There's a chakra, that real distinct one. Right here. That's a good sign. It almost suggests we can find another chakra somewhere. Like, was it here? Like this itself? Or no? Yeah. Was it like that? Flowing in through here. I don't know. And all the way. Definitely through here. And into here. And into here. This way. Through here. Which then looks like it almost must have gone like generally that way. Which almost then would suggest somewhere else then, like over here, like it. Da, 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 da. Or over here. Like, is that where I have these? This. Let's just see how different the size is. I guess I should just copy, paste, not be freaking cutting it. Turn it 180 degrees. Not the right angle, really. Okay. Hello. There. Okay. There we go. I just wanted to fill that back in. This one, let's make maybe. Give it like a stroke. Not so much though. 3, 2. It looks feasible there. Like it was generally attached to there, to this C-mount. So maybe this pre-existed. This kind of makes sense that it pre-existed because there's a lot of like the polygonal bend type things going on, and like that. This kind of like I might be just wanting to remove it to make it easier to like say this didn't exist, but it doesn't make it easier because it did. But what seems to still be part of the process was this sliding from here over to here. And so maybe the C-mount beforehand was more like generally this way. I love it when it puts the stroke around what I'm drawing. It's so cool. I don't actually even know how to make it do that except for to have it do that once I use the feature. It's probably because I'm on. Oh yeah, it's because I'm on this layer. That's why. It's cool that it like readjusts the line. So like, oh, of all the ones for me to draw on, of course, was the one that was this one. Maybe I can like animate it. Okay, dudes, I'm gonna stop here. Obviously, I've entered into the real slow and steady part of this video, so I'm gonna go ahead and call it before I just drag you guys on through it. Peace.